Welcome back. You're listening to Modernizing Government, How Employees Can Thrive in This Hybrid Work Environment, sponsored by KPMG on Federal News Network. I'm your host, Jason Miller. My guest today is Adrienne Burton, the Chief Information Officer at the Health Resources and Services Administration in the Department of Health and Human Services. Now, Adrienne, before break, we were talking a little bit about some of the efforts you did to kind of get grants moving quickly. And you mentioned all this money that HRSA received from the American Rescue Plan and other COVID relief bills. And one of the things you mentioned was kind of the use of a platform as a service and a contractor operated at a contractor owned model, the COCO. I love that acronym, one of my favorite ones. Was that new for HRSA, and why did you decide to go in that direction? And what did it take to kind of say that's the right model for us?
Well, it's not necessarily new to HRSA. We have some programs that use the COCO model, but I think that one of the reasons why we went with that model for the Provider Relief Fund is because if we needed to move quickly. And so it was easier to why build a system when you can use a system that already exists? I mean, that's one of the foundations for FATAR. And so what we did is we actually contracted out that service. And then, like I said, we complemented it with other services, such as the platform as a service. We utilize Salesforce for our performance reporting system, as well as our case management system. So I think for us, we use Salesforce for our contact center, but we didn't use it for things such as case management and performance reporting. So we're really excited about using that technology and starting to integrate that in some of the other technologies that we have in place, as well as we implemented DocuSign. We were using that for our onboarding process to make it easier for folks to sign off on all the forms electronically for the onboarding process. What was really great is because we already had an ATO in progress for that system, we were able to quickly do the ATO for some of the work that we needed for the Provider Relief Fund. And I think that that's important for folks to know, is that in these situations, when you do need to stand up these systems really quickly, you really need to make sure that all your staff is on board, especially your chief information security officer, with trying to, move quickly to issue these ATOs. We did some provisional ATOs to keep the ball rolling, but that's just really key. And I think another key is agile IT portfolio contract structure, I think is what's key. And so that's one of the things that we're continuing to work on, to provide that agility for emergency situations such as what we're in right now.
Did you find it a little funny and of that it took a pandemic to get people to realize that e-signatures work and they're trustworthy and we can use them? Because I know we've been talking about this in the federal market, in the federal sector for 20 plus years about, well, why are we worried? Why am I sending you a piece of paper for you to sign it, to send to somebody else to sign it, to send to somebody else to sign it, when you can send one document that we all can e-sign it and it can be done like that? So I thought the irony was thick there.
Well, that and some of the things with the faxing and right. And now you have it where everyone's trying to automate and then also trying to do this in such a quick manner. So it was just interesting seeing how everyone was coming to us. Can we do this? And can we do that? Things that we've been talking for quite a while. And so I think that really helped move the federal government forward really quickly, is because it was a swim or die type of situation and you needed to move forward. And so I'm just really happy and pleased with the support and the willingness for people to move forward. Because I think that, we focus on the IT, but you also have to focus on the people aspect of it as well, with people, doing 100% telework and trying to keep morale up. And, people are working quite a few hours, extra hours in order to move these programs forward. So that's key as well.
We talked earlier about the sustainment of some of this technology. I imagine even if we all go back to the office 4 or 5 days a week, no one's going to be like, okay, let's go back to wet signatures. I imagine the e-signature piece is something that will sustain. I imagine the platform as a service, the idea behind it, right, of running some software on top of it that can let you grab data, understand data. That's what's really going to sustain over the long term. Those are the major changes that we will see at your agency and others.
Yeah, and I think the whole idea of building systems from scratch as opposed to using something that has the foundational capabilities and then you just add to that and customize it to your environment. So I think that that's going to be key moving forward. And like you said, people are getting used to things happening at record speed. And so I think long term will be interesting to see how that plays out in regards to rolling out capabilities. But I think the door is definitely open for that movement. And so, it'll be interesting to see how things continue down that path.
Well, unfortunately, you are going to be the one that all the pressure comes back to, is because they're going to say if whatever normal is in a year or 5 years or whatever it is, that someone's going to say to you, well, during that pandemic time, you got that out quickly. Well, it's taken so long today. So the folks in your position will face the challenge of living up to the pandemic world speed and success. Adrian, one of the things I want to shift over to, because I think it's right in there, is as employees return to the office, uh, how is HRSA getting ready from a technology perspective? Because some people may never return to the office. Some people may only return to the office once a week. So this hybrid work environment is something that I think we're all going to be living in.
Yeah, I think that one, you're absolutely right. I think for the actual program staff and the IT staff, I think that we definitely have probably more remote work and really trying to identify what needs to happen in the office. And I'm really pleasantly surprised with the collaboration technology that you've been able to seamlessly continue to manage your different programs or to engage with staff. I think one of the things though with 100% telework is that you do kind of miss that person to person engagement for folks. I think that you just over time just adjust and to find different ways to engage with people. We've had within my organization, we've had things such as a step challenge to keep folks engaged, or instead of having quarterly meetings with all staff, I now have monthly 30-minute chats, hitting the key things that they want to hear about and then open it up for discussion. Or we have these little fun facts or like, what's your favorite movie? And just different things like that, to different ways to engage with staff. But I think that I think is going to be key. And then supporting that combination. I think it's easier if you're all in the office or all not in the office, but with the hybrid, I think it'll be, will present even different challenges. And I'm sure that, we're able to, meet those challenges. But I think that that's going to be the biggest thing. And so we have Zoom, we've just implemented Zoom in February, and we're implementing Zoom rooms for when we go back to more of a hybrid environment. But hopefully it'll be easier for folks because the kids will be back in school. There'll be, some normalcy, because you also have to factor in that with COVID is not only are you teleworking, but parents are still trying to care for their kids and all those different things. So I think that it'll be interesting to see how things move forward.
I think that's a good piece, the interesting use of Zoom rooms, because you could say, okay, instead of all of us trying to meet all at once and there's 30 or 40 people, we're going to say this project can go into that room or this project can go into a different room. And then also, as you said, the 30-minute chats with each of your staff members is helpful too. The balance will be, did I tell someone in person what I didn't tell them online because they stopped by my office, they stuck their head in, I saw them on the way to lunch or the elevator or something, and how do you ensure that communication is happening? Is that's one piece of it. Is there another piece of it, just from a day-to-day work perspective, that if you're in the office, there's things you can do or things that maybe you'd have access to, like data that maybe it's more difficult at home, that you have to find the right balance?
No, for us, it's pretty seamless. And so anything that you can access in the office, you can access remotely. Now, there may be some instances where folks need to come in, like the help desk support when we get new laptops in. Of course, that's something that they're going to have to do physically. Or if it's something that needs to happen within our data center or network infrastructure where you need to actually touch something. But for the most part, folks can access whatever they need remotely. And folks have been coming in. I don't want folks to get the impression that no one's been coming into the office. When needed, folks have been coming in to support things that require on-site support.
And I think that for a lot of agencies, that's the case. You come in when you need to versus the everyday
Yes.
when the we were used to. Yeah, because I mean, and I don't know how much you all do from a classified perspective or sensitive perspective. I imagine there's always PII everywhere, so there's sometimes that kind of maybe fits in there where you have to say, well, I'm more comfortable from a security perspective if I come in the office versus accessing this more sensitive data from home.
Well, we don't have any classified systems at HRSA, but of course, you're always concerned with PII, but then folks are accessing the systems that have the appropriate security controls in place.
Right.
And then also we make sure that, the laptops, you have to have VPN to access the network, two-factor authentication for our systems.
You mentioned the grants program, and I thought that was a great example of a way that HRSA has kind of evolved during the pandemic. You also serve a host of citizens, a host of other customers, if you will. You work together with HHS across the agency. Walk me through a little bit about where the technology piece played a role to help that effort continue to be successful and also to maybe evolve because of the pandemic, like we saw with some of the internal processes.
Well, HRSA was responsible for setting up a new website, the telehealth.hhs.gov. And so that was a new service offering that we provided to our citizens. In addition, we have our Find a Health Center .hrsa.gov tool where citizens can go and they could find our health centers that provided COVID testing as well as telehealth services. And then more recently, HRSA has been involved with the vaccination program. And so we've updated our tools to reflect some of the new services that we do provide at HRSA. So that's been a big thing that we've been working on.
Now, was that just as simple as we already had the pieces in place and we're just adding new data or updating the data, or did you have to add some geospatial capabilities? Was there anything specific you had to do, or was it kind of just, it was a data challenge?
Well, we already had the Find a Health Center, and that has geospatial capabilities. So we've been able to leverage those tools as well. And then we recently deployed, this isn't specifically related to COVID, but something that we were working on before, which is our enterprise site repository, which you uniquely identify different locations so that you can overlay program data across the various programs, which has the geocoding in it, as well as some of the things with the Provider Relief Fund, is that we made sure that those addresses were geocoded as well.
And we're just about out of time, but just help me explain what the benefit is. That more of an internal benefit, or is that more of an external benefit, or both?
I think it really will be both. I think externally, folks can go and see where the different services exist with our data warehouse system. So that's exposed externally, but we're also looking at better ways, like I said, to access our data at HRSA. So I think that's enterprise site repository will really help us in certain use cases to be able to, like I said, more effectively look at programs across the organization.
Adrian, we're just about out of time. Before I let you go, just probably the one getaway question is, as you look forward, as you look into 2021 and beyond, what's on the top of your list? What's maybe the one or two priorities you're going to focus on?
I think the top priorities really would be continue what we're doing with the Provider Relief Fund and the COVID response. I mean, that's HRSA's top priority. So focusing on that, and then also focusing more on data. But those would be, COVID is the top priority. I mean, we've recently received additional funds for COVID response. So for us, COVID and security and data.
You can never forget security. We get that. We are reminded that every day. I very much enjoyed our conversation. So let me thank my guest. Adrian Burton is the Chief Information Officer at the Health Resources and Services Administration at the Department of Health and Human Services. Adrian, thanks so much for taking the time. It's great to catch up with you.
It's always great to talk to you, Jason. Take care.
Thank you. I'm Jason Miller, and you've been listening to Modernizing Government, How Employees Can Thrive in this Hybrid Work Environment, sponsored by KPMG on Federal News Network. Tune in next month for the next episode in the Modern Government series. For more on this discussion, visit federalnewsnetwork.com and search KPMG.